In the trenches we live, in the trenches we die. We are Krieg.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back, and today I'm going to be showing you how I'm painting up my Deathcore Krieg from the Octarius Kill Team box. So as we're going along with this, guys, I'm going to be putting up a list of paints that I'm using up on screen somewhere, and I'm also going to put a full list down in the description. So here we go. Let's start off with a little bit of a Vallejo black primer, and let's get going. Okay, so what I've got up on screen here is what I like to call the rule of three. So I always like to get my base coat on, then I like to get my mid-tone in, and then I like to get my highlight on. I know a lot of people said they're not going to do highlights on their Kriegers because I want to keep them grim dark, but I feel like this colour scheme that I've picked out is going to do just that without the need of any streak and grime or washes. So now we're going to start building up our mid-tone and staying away from the recessed areas, start getting the first of our shades in as we put on our Dark Reaper. And now for the final colour, our Thunderhawk blue. We're just going to be putting that at the very top parts of the trench coat, trying to make sure that we can still see our mid-tone and our base coat. So using the same techniques that we've just gone over with the coats, we're going to do the same thing with the trousers. What I've gone for here is grey, leading up to quite a light grey, but that will make a lot more sense later on when we get to the weathering stage of the modelling of this painting, of painting this model. That's the words. So for this next short step of the modelling, we're just going to be doing a Vallejo Model Air Tyre Black on the gloves, shoulder pauldrons, the helmet, and the tubing coming from the respirator down into the rebreather box. Now I'm using this colour because I really like the way that it settles onto items that you want to have come across as black, because there's not really a lot of shading you can do on the darkest colour. So this just gives it a little bit of brightness along with keeping that depth once the paint is dried. Now the keen-eyed inquisitorial people out there will be looking at me and thinking, now Rig, what are you doing with your finger on that shoulder pauldron? Well, what I'm doing is I'm taking away the top layer of that tyre black so that we can maintain the fact that it's black armour and not grey armour for the helmet and shoulder pauldrons. And we don't have to use the most expensive tools in the world. Sometimes use your homegrown thingies. Okay, and for my next trick, we're going to be going on to Steel Legion Drab to start our base layer on the next step, which is going to be the cloth items. Now, I'm going to come away from my rule of three for this. We're going to be dropping down to the rule of two, which is even easier than the rule of three because that's one less paint to remember. So using the new rule of two and hopefully keeping everybody happy with the fact that there's now no longer going to be a highlight phase to this, we're going to be sticking with just the mid-tone. So we're putting on Zandri dust on top of that Steel Legion Drab. And in case you weren't aware, the item that I'm painting up now is actually called puttees. Don't ask me why, that's just what they're called. That is what the wraps around the bottom of their legs are. They're puttees. Fun fact, eh? So at this point now, our Krieg soldier is starting to take shape and he's starting to look a little bit more like he should do. So we're bringing up those colours, remembering that our main focus is going to be the rule of three, and then for all the smaller items we're going to drop down to sort of like the rule of 2. So the next part of this is going to be moving on to all the leather parts, which includes the patrol pack and the webbing straps and his rebreather bag at the front of him, and just all those little straps in between. So now we're off to get some wood, and I'm going to paint it up with burnt umber. So that'll be the handle to the tomahawk and the stock to the rifle. Okay, so for the next part of the wood, we're going to be adding Mournfang brown, and the whole purpose behind this is going to be so that we can dab our thumb or our finger onto it so that we can actually get our fingerprint into that to give it a wood grain texture on the larger panels. So once again, we're using the cheapest tool in our toolbox, and that's our fingers. So here we are at the last step for anyone that's just looking to get battle ready. So what we're going to be doing now, just filling in the silver parts with Iron Warrior. That's what I'll be using. You can use your favourite silver colour. It might be Lead Belcher, it might be Vallejo's Metal Colours, which I do own, but at the moment I'm really enjoying the colour of Iron Warrior. So if you're going to be leaving me at this point going, right, I'm battle ready, I'm off to the table, see you later mate, just leave me a comment, let me know how I've done on this. Drop me a like, drop me a sub if you feel that way, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one. But for those of you who are sticking around, let's get on to the next phases, shall we? Okay, so for those of you that have stuck around, it sounds like you're enjoying what I'm doing and you want to see to the end. Thank you ever so much. I feel like I've deserved a like at this point, so pop on down there, press that like button, it doesn't cost you a penny. Leave a comment while you're at it saying, I stayed, thanks Rig, or something along those lines. Next, what we're going to be doing here is using that brass scorpion to paint in all the little emblems, so we're going to make it really pop against the colours that we've already got to make it stand out. And once that's done, we've just got the lenses on the gas mask to do and a little bit more highlighting, and then we're done with the model and we're on to the weathering. Okay, so now we're on to the weathering section of this painting guide, painting tutorial, painting by numbers. It's whatever you want it to be. So we're going to be using rhinox hide to bring the immersion in that these are metal pauldrons and a metal helmet, so that it's the starting layers of rust before we then go over it with a silver colour to add the scratches in where they've got down to the bare metal. Okay, so once you've bashed, battered and scratched up your meta armour, it's time for me to completely contradict myself, and let's add some agrax earth onto some of the metal parts such as the bayonet and all the leather parts. And then once we've done that, we're going to whack some nulm onto the pauldrons, the helmet and the barrel of the rifle and all the other metal parts, just to really dirty them down before we bring them back up with some highlights of silver later. Okay, so welcome to the end game on this. It's our last step of the weathering, and that's getting the mud onto our Krieger. So we're going to be starting off with a burnt umber, so a lighter colour, and we're going to stipple it on using our dry brush. The reason we're doing this in reverse order, so we're starting with the lighter colour and then we'll be moving on to the rhinox hide after this, is because what we're putting on now is the dried on mud that's already been on their uniform, and then the rhinox hide, the darker colour, will be the fresher wet mud. So that's what's going to give us our effect of dried on mud with fresh mud. So there we are, completed and done. Your first Krieger, or your first Krieger that looks like this at least anyway.
Into the fires of battle, onto the anvil of war.
Alright then guys, hope to see you in the next one. I just need to work out how I'm going to